Welcome back to our conversation about optimism and the economy. We have Dr. Riley Moore, an associate professor at St. Martin's University in Lacey, an economics professor, and Joseph Beaulieu, chairman of the Thurston County Economic Development Council and a member of a local bank. Gentlemen, you together are at the point on the development of a Thurston County Vitality Index. Let's get from the beginning. What is that and what is it all about?
Well, the Economic Vitality Index is a measurement of both the past but also the present, so that we can get a good feel for what's going on in our economy. You know, Pierce County has their own index, and when we started looking at and trying to answer questions for potential businesses coming into our area, as well as helping our businesses sustain themselves, we needed to have something that was really pertains to us in our region. And so we put together this Vitality Index over a period of years with the help of St. Martin's University and a local business that specializes in this kind of thing.
So basically what I'm understanding then is it's a series of snapshots, a picture of the economy as it exists in Thurston County, which you project, or not project, but you track over time. Is that
quarterly? Yeah.
Quarterly.
Yeah. So
and
it's
starting when?
We actually, as Joseph said, we started last year, so we have a full year, and so we're starting that process. But you have to start somewhere, and so.
And what kinds of things are you measuring? What components come into the index?
Actually, good. We have actually it's a three-part process. We have a composite index itself that's based off secondary data, but then we also we wanted to add something different in terms of the perception component. So we also have
let's start with the secondary data. Are you talking unemployment rates?
Exactly.
Real estate transactions?
Exactly.
Sales,
building permits,
sales taxes,
yeah,
that sort of thing.
Exactly.
Data which is actually calculated by other agencies.
Exactly.
And you have access to it.
Right.
So that's one component.
And we've looked at that just for our county, and then we also do a survey of households in Thurston County, and then we also do a survey of CEOs in Thurston County. So you have the household side, the business side, and then you have the secondary data side. So it adds a pretty comprehensive picture of some of the trends that are going on in the county.
So the data is fact, statistic. It's there. Surveys of sentiments or of confidence levels, is that what you're asking both in the consumer and the CEO level?
Exactly. We're modeling it after the Conference Board model and the University of Michigan's model. So we're just taking what they do at the national level and doing it at the county level. So it's
now you've done that a couple of times now. Do you find there is a difference between the confidence factor reported by consumers, statistically randomly selected consumers, I assume?
Exactly.
Compared to business leaders? Is there a difference in their perceptions?
And it's households, and that's sort of the topic today. Certainly we've seen the households the media does influence some of their perceptions of what they think going on. I think the CEOs, just by their very nature, a lot of times being in tune with some of the indicators, have been a little more steady. But overall, this economy has had a downward, certainly, impression in terms of the perceptions, certainly on the household side. But it was interesting. We saw one trend. It was before the elections. We did see a tremendous upswing in terms of positive expectations about the future, and we're waiting to see. I was trying to benchmark within after that election. Then we saw a downward trend again. But again, I think the media plays a huge role in terms of what people perceive as the likely outcomes or what they think is coming down the pipeline.
Joseph, in addition to your volunteer work as chairman of the Economic Development Council, you are a senior executive at Venture Bank. So
Yes.
you're dealing with the consumer world as it impacts on business decisions. Is there is there a leader? Do the consumers lead the business thinking, or can business leadership's thinking, if expressed, help consumers come to a new point of view?
Well, I believe the latter is more the case, or would like to believe that, because we do know that the media is leading the charge on the other side of the picture. So we feel a real responsibility for pointing out the positive and the things that are happening that look like we're getting out of this morass that we're in. And so yes, we do. I think we have an obligation to do that, because And we've had town hall meetings just to do things like that, to talk with our consumers and our customers and potential customers about, what is really happening and what is behind some of the things that are happening.
What is the mood, or what is the index showing, and how can a person who perhaps is watching this program get us tap into it, figure out what is happening in Thurston County?
Well, in terms of the website, the Economic Development Council, which Joseph's current president of, is we're using that as our venue to get the latest information for the public, or at least to be able to disseminate that information.
So anytime, any month, any time of the year, we can go
access, right,
and find out what is the latest report. And you're putting these out quarterly.
Quarterly. And actually, it's a great experience in terms of for the students. We have our business
How are the students involved?
Well, they actually do the phoning.
Okay.
So we have randomly select 1,500 households in Thurston County, and it's a phenomenal experience for them to be able to reach out and sort of experience that process.
Put theory into practice.
Right, exactly. So
Is this a theoretical issue or model, or is it really more proactive or more real based? I mean, economics is a whole doctrine of study, which seems pretty theoretical. The fact is, unemployment rate, as reported by the secondary data, is pretty firm.
right.
Is this vitality index designed to try and bring the two together?
Well, you've got that three-part process,
Right.
and I think it's certainly, what the secondary data is showing, what households are thinking, and what CEOs are thinking, and I think that, as you mentioned, it serves, as Joseph also mentioned, as a benchmark process. It allows us to monitor how we're doing over time, and then also compare ourselves to the national level, or if any other county decides to follow a similar model, we can use that as a basis. But yeah, I mean, we do have the perception, but it is based on the CEO, and the household component is based on primary data collection, and it is based on people's perceptions at that point in time.
And it is pretty much a look back through the rear window of a moving vehicle of the economy, if you will. Right. It isn't really...
Well, actually, the questions that we do ask the households, we ask them in 6 months from now, what do they think is going to happen to labor conditions and to the current business conditions? And we do the same process for the CEOs. So it is somewhat of a leading indicator of what perceptions might be. And that's what makes it such a fascinating component, is that we get a chance to get somewhat of an insight into the mindset of the business sector and the household sector, and then benchmark it against what the secondary data, which itself is lagged a little bit.
So I wouldn't be fulfilling my role as a journalist if I didn't ask the economist then for your educated view of our economic future. Where do you think we're going to be as we go through the rest of this year or into 2010?
Well, I can certainly, I think from our county, Thurston County as the seat of government, we've lagged going into this, and certainly will lag going out. We do have an EVI, the Economic Vitality Index, which is a leading indicator series. Now that has been dropping, and normally what tends to happen is that you're looking, once we see an uptick, and we're in the process as we update that quarterly, but we're still seeing somewhat of a downward trend on that. But once we see an uptick, we're probably looking at maybe 8 to 12 months out. But again, that also begs a sort of the bigger question. I mean, in terms of, I don't know if we want to get back just to, when we talk about recovery, if we want to get back to consumerism. And I mean, there's probably some structural changes that we'll have to have in this.
That's a whole other topic that we unfortunately don't have time to get into right now. I wish we did. Thanks, Riley Moore, professor at St. Martin University, and Joseph Beaulieu. Thank you for sharing the story of the Thurston Economic Vitality Index. On your screen now are some internet sites that can provide more reading about today's guests and their ideas. Some of these topics we didn't have time to talk about. Check them out if these discussions piqued your interest. The last one in particular, look at that, opportunity within financial crisis. Now, this is not selling anything except perhaps a positive attitude. I think it's worth looking at. Thanks again to viewers for joining us today. We'll see you again next time for the South Sound Business Report.
This has been a production of Clover Park Technical College and CPTC Television. Clover Park Technical College. Redefine education.